Well, Trekkies and Trekkers, here I am again. So, let's continue on with Star Trek 10 for today by looking at The Naked Now. Should be interesting. The crew of the Enterprise responds to messages received from the SS Tsiolkovsky. I'm sorry if I butchered that. A science vessel monitoring the collapse of a supergiant star. The messages suggest, amid their rounds of laughter, that the crew has been exposed to a sudden hull breach. After the Enterprise secures the Tsiolkovsky via tractor beam, an away team beams over and finds the crew frozen to death in various stages of undress, including one who is taking a shower fully clothed. Okay. A woman's body, frozen, falls into Lieutenant LaForge's hands. Dr. Crusher orders full medical examinations of the away team on their return, and finds LaForge sweating profusely and complaining about the temperature. She orders him to stay in sickbay, but he manages to escape, make his way to the quarters of Crusher's son, Wesley. Unaware of LaForge's condition, Wesley shows him a portable tractor beam device, and LaForge places an encouraging hand on his shoulder. Meanwhile, acting on a hunch by Commander Riker, who had read a book on past starships named Enterprise, and found a previous mention of someone taking a shower fully clothed in its pages, Lieutenant Commander Data locates a historical record identifying the ailment as similar to one encountered by Captain Kirk's USS Enterprise. LaForge returns to sickbay, where Dr. Crusher quickly becomes concerned when she realizes that the infection is spread by physical contact. Uh-oh. Much of the ship's crew comes under the influence of the ailment, including Data, who engages in a sexual encounter with Security Chief Tasha Yar. Ooh my. Dr. Crusher, struggling against the effects of the ailment, finds the original antidote documented by Kirk's Enterprise to be ineffective, and begins devising a new version of it. Good plan. Now infected, Wesley uses a digital sample of Captain Picard's voice to lure key engineering crew members away from the engineering deck. He erects a force field around the area with his tractor beam device and assumes control of the ship. He allows one of the engineers, Mr. Shimoda, who is acting in a childlike manner, into the force field. Mr. Shimoda manages to remove all the isolinear chips from the engine control station and plays with them like toys. As the supergiant star collapses, a fragment is blown into a direct impact course with the two Federation ships, and without the chips in place, they cannot move out of its way. Chief Engineer Sarah McDougall manages to disable Wesley's force field, and Data is sent to replace the chips. He reports that he will not have enough time. Bom bom bom! Wesley reverses the ship's tractor beam, repelling the Enterprise off the Tsiolkovsky. Again, it's Russian, so I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. Giving themselves the necessary additional seconds for Data to replace the chips, enabling the ship to move out of the way. The crew is cured of the ailment, and Picard partially credits Wesley for helping to prevent a disaster. Well, that's a first. Anyway, let's get some production notes here. Star Trek The Next Generation's creator, Gene Roddenberry, wanted to include an episode revealing the characters' motivations to the audience early on in the series. As a basis, he turned to the Star Trek original series episode, The Naked Time. Executive producer Rick Berman described The Naked Now as, quote, an homage, not a copy of The Naked Time, while director Paul Lynch described it as, quote, slightly more adult and a lot more comic than the original. The Naked Now is based on an incomplete teleplay by Roddenberry for The Next Generation, titled Revelations. The first few scenes remain largely similar, but in Revelations, LaForge affected Yar while making unsuccessful sexual advances toward her. Original series writer D.C. Fontana wrote a new draft of the teleplay with several further changes that failed to make it into the final installment. These included Data turning down Yar's sexual advances, Troy's lack of privacy due to empathic abilities, Picard's concern for the families on the ship, and Riker's fear of becoming a lonely starship captain. Aww. Brooke Bundy made her only appearance as the first chief engineer of the Enterprise, Sarah McDougall, in this episode. The post of chief engineer changed hands numerous times through the rest of season 1, before Joy LaForge was finally assigned to the post on a permanent basis in season 2. Michael Ryder made his first appearance as an unnamed transporter chief, but his scene was cut in this episode, and would go on to appear in the same role twice before appearing a final time as the same security guard. Yusef Tsiolkovsky model was a redress of the USS Grissom from Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Michael Okuda created a ship's dedication plaque for the Tsiolkovsky, which stated that it had been created in the Soviet Union. A copy was subsequently set on display at the Konstantin E. Tsiolkovsky State Museum of the History of Cosmonauts in Kaluga, Soviet Russia. So, yeah, overall this is a pretty interesting episode and a nice homage to an episode from the original series. So, overall, I give The Naked Now 3 warp cores out of 5. Well, join me in a while or so as we take a look at Code of Honor. Yeah, that should be an interesting one to look at. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.